With the most recent news from Pez Radar on the Blizzard forum showing that Season 3 for Diablo 2 Resurrected is right around the corner, we got a pretty awesome opportunity to get a sneak peek at least 5 of the new runewords that are coming to this season. And you know what? If you're a busy Diablo nerd on the go, you ain't got time to watch through a whole video, I'll just go ahead and show you them right now. So get ready to pause the video, take your screen cap, and start salivating as much as I am over these amazing runewords. There you go, a make-your-own perfect defense helmet for whatever you and your mercenary might need for your travels through Sanctuary. Now, if you're interested in figuring out what's the best use case for these items, when you should farm for them, what I expect them to do in the meta, and overall break down just how ridiculously powerful they are, why don't you stick around for the rest of the video. One of the most important things to understand about these runewords before we get into breaking down each one individually is that the runes here, most notably the Shale and the Io, which is going to be in every single rune word, and then the most expensive rune out of all of these, I guess, would be the Soul rune in Bulwark, can all be farmed Players 1 difficulty from Nightmare Countess, and honestly, within an hour or two, you could expect to have any combination of these runes at all. But let's go ahead and start off with Cure the Poison Resistance Helmet. So I'm going to take these runewords in order of least impactful to most impactful. I think that makes the most sense. And let's go ahead and break down the anatomy of the runeword itself. If you're somebody who plays card games like me, then I'm going to refer to these almost like a cycle. A cycle is any concept where you take a core idea and then you recreate its effects across the different spectrum, in this case, the different resistance types in Diablo 2. These are all going to be 3-socket helmet runewords. That does mean that you can build them into barbarian and druid helmets as well, which is something I'll touch on a bit later. And they're all going to use both the runes Shale and Io. And then the last rune that you're going to plug in is going to be representative of the resistance type that you want. Because of that Shale and Io, the helmets are always going to have 20 faster hit recovery and 10 vitality. That's going to make you recover faster from getting hit by a big monster and give you more life, so you're less likely to be put into hit recovery in the first place. Each helmet is going to roll 75 to 100 enhanced defense as well, so that's a nice little defense bump for you hardcore players. One of the strongest stats on every single piece of gear is also that it's just going to increase your maximum life by 5%. One of the reasons why that's so important is that a lot of these helmets are actually phenomenal on a mercenary and might single-handedly fix any mercenary issues that you've had in the mid-game, because while the vitality won't increase their life, that 5% increase to maximum will apply to their life pool. And then you have that identity resistance. This is going to be the resistance and any additional effects that you're going to gain from the last rune put in. So for Cure, this is going to be a Tal rune to confer poison resistance. The rune itself always gives 30% resistance. And then the item itself will roll between 10 and 30, so you can get upwards of 60% resistance. And then here you're also going to get poison length reduction by 75%. What's so important about that is that when you're in hell difficulty, you actually have negative 100 poison length, which basically means any poison effect is applied to you for twice the amount of time that it normally would be. Poison length reduction of 75% means that in hell difficulty, they're cutting that down to a quarter. So poison length is only going to be applied to for an additional 25% of the time, as opposed to double the total time. So as we look forward at the next helmets, just keep in mind that hit recovery, enhanced defense, vitality, as well as increased maximum life, you're going to see that across the board. And then you're always going to have the primary resistance and then a secondary damage reduction effect that is going to get kind of ridiculous very quickly. Next up, we have Hearth. This is our cold resistance helmet. It's going to use a Thul rune to get us there. So on top of the fact that you can roll up to 60% cold resistance on this helmet, it also has cold absorb, and that number is going to roll between 10 to 15. What's cool about this helmet is that a lot of people are probably aware of a lot of lightning absorb items, as well as fire absorb, but there aren't that many cold absorb items that the majority of people could use. Because you're able to farm this so early on, a lot of these helmets are actually going to be incredibly powerful for anybody trying to do their own uber budget smiter build. So when you're going in to fight uber Iswal, you go ahead and you toss this on, and then all of a sudden you're healing every time you get hit by a shiver armor. While cold resistance is arguably the second least important resistance in the game as it stands right now, it's really nice that this tool exists for anybody looking to farm very specific areas, perhaps on a hardcore character, or again, like I was talking about with specific uber fights. Next up, we have ground. This is going to be your lightning resistance helmet. It's going to use an Ort rune to get us there. Again, you're able to roll up to 60% resistance against lightning, which makes this easily outclass the other contemporary, which would typically be a lore helmet at this point, and then 10 to 15 lightning absorb as well. So just like we were talking about with the Uber Smiter, being able to toss on a helmet that gets you 60 lightning resist and upwards of 15 lightning absorb when you're going in to fight Mephisto on a budget is absolutely bonkers. I think it's easy to assume that this helmet is going to exist on literally every single Smiter setup until you have perfect in-slot gear. And then on top of that, getting it as early as Nightmare, throwing this on for a hardcore character playing through Act 2, trying to survive Mephisto in general. And then later on in Chaos Sanctuary and anywhere that has souls, this thing might single-handedly fix all of your resistance and survivability issues so you can focus on stronger gear, more magic find, and more damage across the rest of your gear pieces. Honestly, the more and more I look at this particular piece of gear, I realize just how nutty the next two helmets are. And all this thing costs is a Shale, Io, and an Ort rune. Here we have Temper. This is going to be your fire resistance option, and you're going to use a Ral rune to get there. Now just let this helmet soak in for a little bit. 20 faster hit recovery, upwards of 100 enhanced defense, 10 to vitality, 5 increased maximum life, upwards of 60 fire resistance, and 15 fire absorb. Not only is this an amazing survivability helmet for anybody playing through the game at any point, but now let's think about where else you can use this helmet, most notably on a mercenary. Think of how many people need to farm up until they get a Kira's Guardian before they even feel comfortable taking a mercenary into Travancore farming. And now you're telling me I can have 60 res along with maximum life and fire absorb for the cost of a Shale, Io, and Ral rune. This is legitimately going to enable so many builds to be able to farm stuff like the Travancore so much earlier into the season. It's almost unreasonable that this rune word is going to hit the game as it is right now. I quite frankly think it might be a little bit too overpowered, but honestly, I'm not really offended at the concept of them releasing new powerful mid-game rune words to enable all the different play styles and fix all of the struggles that your gear options just might not be able to fix for you based off of your own playthrough of Diablo 2. And the wildest thing is that I haven't even shown you the best helmet. I'm not even going to say anything for a little bit. I know we soaked in the last helmet, but really look at this item right here. For the cost of Shale, Io, and Soul, which just another reminder, you can farm all of these runes at Nightmare Countess on players 1 and get them within an hour. 20 hit recovery. It rolls 4 to 6 life stolen per hit. 75 to 100 enhanced damage, the 10 vitality, the 5% increased maximum life. It comes along with replenished life 30. Because of the soul rune, it also comes along with a flat damage reduced by 7, and then physical damage reduction between 10 to 15% on a helmet. This is your stopgap for Vampire Gaze. This is your stopgap for Talrash's helmet when you're trying to get life leech onto your mercenary so you can actually stay up. Flat damage reduction along with maximum life and additional vitality. This is a really nice early game immortal sorceress helmet. If this helmet didn't say the percentage physical damage reduction and all it said was the rest of the stats, I would already be going gaga over this for every single melee character and every single build that relies on having a mercenary survive. And then they added upwards of 15% physical damage reduction to a mid-game low rune word. I honestly cannot say enough about this helmet, and I will personally be building this on literally every single character. Looking at these rune words, it's obvious that the developers are looking to shore up some of the issues that people were running into on more casual playthroughs and in the early game when it came to the resistances that you lose from Sunder Charms. With, most notably, the physical Sunder Charm definitely hitting the hardest, considering it's so difficult to stack physical damage reduction. I think the devs are making a really big statement here that says they've heard our complaints, melee characters need some help, and then they delivered arguably one of the most powerful rune words that they have created since the inception of Diablo 2 Resurrected. And it's so powerfully aimed towards melee characters that I honestly need to applaud the effort. So all of your early game barbarians, all of your early game fury druids, anybody trying to be a physical zealer, jab fend Amazon, as well as martial arts assassin, now get to put on a single piece of gear in their helmet that costs them, for all intents and purposes, nothing at all, other than an hour or two of farming, that single-handedly solves for all of your survivability issues, and you honestly don't need to replace this thing until you're looking at your best in slot options later on. So I hope that you enjoyed this Runeword reveal. Thank you very much to Blizzard and the Diablo team for giving me not 1, 2, 3, but 5 different rune words to go over. I do expect to make a video covering each one individually for its more niche uses, the best places where I expect you to be able to employ these rune words, and then how important I think each one is based off of the different type of farming strategies or player character that you're trying to build. But let me know what you think about these rune words. Honestly, I'm kind of blown away that we got something this powerful that costs effectively nothing in such a small and easy to manage package. A 3-socket helmet is something you can literally go buy or just farm and pick up anywhere. The fact that you can build them into barbarian and druid helmets as well, especially with Bulwark, means that melee builds that were otherwise struggling in the early game and progressing into hell basically have a fix-all that has incredible power potential. Throw this thing in with a natural resistance helmet that gets you access to leap and perhaps war cry, battle cry, or battle command. Throw it into a pelt that gets you access to, I don't know, rabies, fury, any of the summons. The possibilities aren't endless, but they're damn near close. I'm incredibly impressed with these helmets overall. I think they really speak to a great understanding of some of the issues that casual players and even more experienced players run into in the early and mid game, and these are a near perfect example of what you can do when you start to look at the versatility of a lot of the low runes and then build on their identity to make something that can fit into any scenario that you need them to. Thank you so much for watching this video. I'm very excited to see the rest of the rune words revealed, and obviously I'll be making videos covering each of them as the other different content creators get an opportunity to show off their own stuff. Also, let me know which helmet you think is actually the best here. I'm definitely partial to physical, fire, and lightning, but I also think that both the poison and the cold helmet have their uses in some of the more difficult content to clear in the game. Thank you so much for watching this video. As always, I'm deeply appreciative, and I look forward to seeing you in the next one.